Hey guys, I've got a video here on the area of a parallelogram. Always such a difficult word to say, and this is chapter 11E in your textbook. Okay, so we have previously talked about area as the space inside a 2D shape, and there's lots of different kinds of 2D shapes, as you know. So let's start by talking about what a parallelogram actually is. Okay, so the features of a parallelogram is, and here's an example, we have opposite sides are equal in lengths, so these two and these two. Okay, and we know by that symbol that they are equal. We also have opposite angles equal in size to each other, so across from each other, and they're labelled B and B to show they're the same in A and A. The other things we have, of course, are two sets of parallel lines. So we've got one set that is matching here and another set that is matching here. Okay, and so it's kind of like a squashed rectangle in some ways, okay, but with some more paired features, so like a pair of matching angles and a pair of matching sides. Okay, so when we're talking about a parallelogram, there's two things that help us find the area: the height and the base. Okay, so our base is along one side. It doesn't actually matter which of the sides it is, but for example, this one is our base, and our height is perpendicular to the base. Okay, so that's our height here. Perpendicular means, of course, at right angles to. Okay, so with that in mind, we can then find the area of a parallelogram. Often the shape is not neatly in the right place. So this one is, but then if you have a look down at this one here, it's sort of been rotated at a different orientation. So it's not going to look exactly the same all the time. And you need to get used to that. So B for base and H for height. Okay, so when we come to the area of a parallelogram, it's actually really easy. So A for area equals BH, and that means base times by the height. Okay, so once you know the length of a base and you know the length of a height, then you can find the area just by timesing those together. So kind of similar to how we would find the area of a rectangle, which makes sense because they're very similar. So just remember that the base is not necessarily going to be along the bottom. So here, B for base is actually here, and then our height might be inside our parallelogram, or it might be outside our parallelogram, and that will show that will be shown on your diagram most of the time. Okay, so area equals base times height, or area equals BH. Another little thing, when we have two letters like this, kind of like algebra, that are next to each other without a multiplication sign in between, according to algebra, that actually means timesing by each other. So that's by each other. So that's why you will see them next to each other without a multiplication sign sometimes. Alright, apologies for stopping starting this video. I'm just trying to put my little people to bed at the same time. Okay, so as always, when we're finding the area of a 2D shape, we write our formula first. So A equals BH, and then we substitute our values in to where our letters actually are. So this is kind of like sort of the sort of things we'll do when we study algebra later in the year. Okay, so A equals BH for parallelogram, and base in this example is 6 times by height of 2. And we always check as well that we have the same units of measurement for both of our measurements. Otherwise, we need to do a conversion before we do any multiplication or adding if it's a different shape. So that would equal 12 centimeters, and because it's an area measurement, we're going to put squared there as well. Okay, so that was an example of our height being inside our parallelogram at perpendicular to our base. And here's an example where the perpendicular height is outside our parallelogram, but still clearly marked by the right angle that is at right angles to the base there as well. Okay, so A for our formula, A for area equals BH, or base times height. That in this case equals 5.8 times 6.1. And so because I've got a super mathematical brain, I know that that is 35.38. Just kidding, I used a calculator. And centimeters squared. Okay.